Aloha friends, I'm so excited to record this video. I'm here with my lovely friend Alealani.
Aloha!
And she's got a very fascinating story about being bitten by a shark on Maui.
A Kaua'i woman is doing okay today after being bitten by a shark near Lahaina, Maui yesterday.
The Kihei resident was diving about 200 feet from shore at Mala Wharf and typically sees blacktip and whitetip sharks. He says attacks remain extremely rare considering the number of people in the water every year.
But just a little bit of introduction before we start. We are sitting here and she's actually gonna put some mermaid braids in my hair, which is very exciting. We thought we'd combine the mermaid braid adventure with an interview because she's got such an amazing story. And I thought since we're sitting here for 5 hours, we might as well take some of this time to share her story. So you'll see the before, this is me before, and the after. We'll make sure we get some of that in. And she's just also a recently transformed mermaid. So she's a natural mermaid.
Fun. So many exciting things happening. And thank you for having me here. And and doing this interview. And I'm happy to share and hopefully help some of you guys out there.
So as you're doing that, and I know you're an excellent multitasker, you can talk and do things. You told me a while back about your story about the shark bite, and it was a while ago, so it's not fresh in my mind. But yeah, if you want to start sharing your experience of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many levels to the story. You know, sometimes it's hard to share because there's so many different details, and in so much processing that I had to do too on different layers of the situation. But I was attacked by a shark 4 years ago now on November 7. I was the 7th shark attack that year in 2021, and it was approximately about a week after my 27th birthday.
Wow.
You know, I've always heard about the 27 Club. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about that. Like a lot of famous people or just things happen to people at 27, like Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix, right? All the things.
Saturn return.
Yes. So, you know, I had this in my mind. Like, I remember, you know, that I had that in my mind. I was like, oh, I'm 27 now. And then for just this situation to happen, I'm just like, oh my God, I barely made it out of my 27, you know. I scraped my life, you know, my life was just on the other side almost. But I made it. I was traveling with my boyfriend in our island. We were working for Infinity Communications. So I guess I'll tell the longer side of the story because, you know, we're here for 4 hours. And we were like, okay, let's, you know, we're in Maui, let's stay for the weekend. And so we met with people, with some friends that that lived here. You know, they lived in Maui. So we called them up and they were like, yeah, let's go out. Let's go, you know, check out some waterfalls. And then it landed on a Sunday. November 7th was a Sunday. And then on Sunday, we're like, okay, let's go diving and this and that. And we're like, okay. So we met them. And I've never been diving in this specific area in Maui, but there were a lot of sharks in the water. I remember noticing a lot of sharks, more than I've ever seen. I mean, I've dove with sharks before, or they cruise through when you're scuba diving. I also scuba dive. But never as many as I've seen that day. And I was really overwhelmed, but also excited because I was like, wow, look at all these sharks. And they were just minding their own business.
Was that at Mala Wharf?
Yeah, this was Mala Wharf, right in Lahaina.
Right.
Yeah, Mala Wharf in Lahaina, right behind Bob's Snorkel. I mean, I remember we even like rented our mask and fins from Bob's Snorkel in that little area behind Bob's area, that shop. And you know, you jump off the rocks. It's really not even a beach. And I remember getting in the water. The visibility was okay for that day. And there were white tips, you know, black tips, little reef shark. Wow. There were just all kinds, except tiger sharks. I didn't see a tiger shark, thank God. And then I was just cruising, you know, the whole time we were having a blast. And we'd been in the water for like 2 hours. And I was like, you know what, I'm ready to get out. But I thought, you know, we came in as a group, let's get out as a group. And so at this point, when I wanted to get out, the people that we were with, they were going past the reef. Like they wanted to keep swimming further. And then something in my stomach, like my gut was like, oh, I really don't want to go past the reef, you know? But then I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to be like the party pooper, you know? So then I'm following my boyfriend, you know, he's following them. And then next thing you know, so we're furthest away from everybody. You know, there were a bunch of snorkelers. Triology 3 had just dumped a bunch of tourists in the water. I mean, it was a really crowded day. There were lots of people in the water. We weren't the only ones, but our group was the one furthest away. And I was furthest away from the other 3 people, my boyfriend and the other 2 people that we were with, because I just really wanted to get out of the water. And so we're past the reef. We're about like maybe 40, 60 feet deep at this point, maybe 100 to 200 yards away from the shore. So we're quite away, you know, and I'm like looking, I'm like, oh, I really want to get out. And then next thing you know, this guy starts chumming his catch in the water,
Oh no.
which is illegal to do. But I didn't know it at this point because everybody's in their own section when, you know, you're snorkeling. And I was kind of by myself. Nobody was around me, pretty close. And so he starts chumming his catch, which I was unaware of, but then I can tell the situation in the water changed. Like the little tiny colorful reef sharks started coming up to the surface of the water. And I'm like, what is going on? I was like, things are just looking so different, you know? And then I'm looking around and something bumped me. Like I felt a bump on, I think by my fins, I felt a bump. And I was like, what? And I'm looking around, nobody's near me. I was like, I didn't hit another snorkeler, you know? And so I looked in the water to see what, I was like, was that the shark? In the back of my mind, I was like, that was the shark. So I'm looking down and I see this the biggest one in the water, this black tip shark. I would say he's about 6 foot big, maybe even bigger. And he was like not at the bottom anymore. He was midway. And then I was at the surface of the water. And he has his fins down. You know, I've never seen a shark in this situation because this was the first time I've encountered a shark that's provoked because of the chumming of the water, of the fish, right? Mm-hmm. And so he had his fins down. His eyes were dilated black with his teeth out, like. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I've never seen a shark look like this before. And I was like, what do I do? But everything's happening so fast. I'm like, what do I do? So I poked my head out of the water to call my boyfriend, be like, hey, look at this shark. And within that instant, maybe seconds, 3-5 seconds, he came and got me, you know? And I felt the chumming. I felt that like the bite, almost like a puppy, but the shark. You know how a puppy puts his teeth on your skin, but his teeth were so razor sharp, they're going through. Right. But it didn't feel super aggressive, you know, it just felt like that bite. Yeah. And then I instantly shook my knees and pushed him off of me with my left hand.
Where did he bite you?
So in the back of my leg. I can maybe show you guys.
Oh, look at that
scar there. And maybe we can get a zoom in.
Yeah, we'll take a picture.
Yeah, and you could put it in there. So I like instantly shook my legs, pushed him off of me. And at this point, my boyfriend was close to me. He's like, what happened? And then I was like, the shark got me. He's like, what? I mean, I didn't scream. I kept pretty calm. I mean, I was a little panicking inside, but I kept pretty calm. And then, you know, and then my boyfriend kept me a little more calm. And then I was like, he's going to come back. I told him, he's like, he's going to come back. He's like, no, babe, he's not going to come back. And he's like, let me see. And I didn't want him to see because I didn't want him to look underneath and see him panic and I would panic. You know, I was like, no, don't look. I was like, don't look. Because at this point, I don't know if my leg's missing. I don't know how mangled it is. I don't know if my freaking leg is like hanging on by a thread, you know, because I didn't want to look. And then I was feeling no pain. I just knew he got me, you know, but I felt no pain at all. I just, you know, was trying to like check if everything was still felt there, you know. I was like moving my fins. I was like, okay, I feel my fin. I was like, I think my leg is still there, you know. And then he looks underneath. He was like, I have to look, he was saying. And so he looks underneath and then he's like, oh yeah, babe, you need stitches, he said. That's all he said. And then the goriest part was when I was swimming out of the water, you know, when I'm swimming back to shore. I can feel that piece of skin like hanging as I'm swimming. Oh. That was the worst part, I would say, you know.
I bet.
And then just afraid that the shark will come back. But I mean.
But he didn't come back.
He didn't come back. Okay. I mean, we don't taste good to sharks. When he got me, he must have been like, ugh, I made a mistake. This is not what I want, right?
Right.
And so he didn't come back. I didn't see him again. And plus, I didn't look back down in the water. I was just focused on getting back to shore. And all I could think about was like, I need stitches. I need to get to the hospital. I need stitches. And Triology 3, I was trying also not to make a scene because I didn't want people in the water.
Is that the boat, Triology?
Yeah, Triology 3 was the boat, the catamaran that was...
so there's all these tourists in the water off the boat.
Yes, exactly. They had just dumped a bunch of snorkelers, and then the lifeguard...
You didn't want to start screaming shark.
Exactly, and then the lifeguard noticed that we
conscious of
needed
you.
help, or my boyfriend mentioned like, hey, we need your board, or she's been bitten by a shark. I'm pretty sure he said something in those terms. And so he threw the board at us. I think he was already in the water. He threw the board, and then I was helped on the board so I can, you know, be on the board and swim the rest of the way. And at that point, people saw that I was bleeding and that there was like a shark attack. So people panicked anyway.
Right.
It was like a freaking scene. People were jumping back in the Triology. Like the freaking whole beach was emptied, you know. See me come out of there with with my bloody leg. And when I got to the rocks, I pulled my fin off. This is when I was able to see the bite. And then just blood was gushing down to the point where it was like from my knee down, it was just like bloody.
Oh, gosh.
And then people started hurling around me and just like asking me questions, but I was like so delirious. Like
You're
I was
probably
so
in shock.
Yeah, in
Of course.
shock. I was just like so out of it. People were asking me questions. I, have just gone through this scenario in my mind so many times. It was meant to also happen. I can't blame him like, oh, this happened because of you. Because I think like you mentioned, it was medicine for me. One way or another, it had to happen for me, and then I see the bigger picture in it now. So honestly, ultimately, it's become a blessing, and I'm very thankful for that situation. I'm very happy I have my leg.
Yes.
But even if I would have lost my leg, I would just been happy to have my life. Like you realize in those moments how important your life is, and how sometimes we get carried away by things that are just meaningless or just nonsense, and I think at that time of my life, I could have, I was dealing with things mentally that were blocking me that didn't allow me to go to the next level. But the shark attack,
pushed you to the next level.
Pushed me to the next level, which I think it would have been harder to get to. Probably could have taken a few more years of, of self-development or, doing inner work. But, getting bit by a shark just kind of pushed me to the other side. To do that work instantly and to let go of those fears or those insecurities I was suffering from, because now you deal with something as huge as a shark attack, you could have lost your life. Once you lose your life, you can't fix anything in your day-to-day life anymore. You have no chance at correcting those mistakes. Well, I feel like with the shark attack now, I've had the chance to correct those mistakes.
It was a wake-up call.
It was a wake-up call. Right. Exactly. And, ever since I've just been processing, this has been my story now since the shark attack, 4 years. For 4 years now, I've been dealing with this not on the daily. I mean, it does come up, but it's shaped my life differently, basically. It has shaped my reality into something else, right?
Well, and the fact that you can get in the water now is huge. Like I saw you in the water the other day.
Yes.
You didn't look afraid at all.
Yes, no, so that's one
That's
thing.
huge.
Yeah. And that's what I hear, and now I understand more and more why people are so shocked that I get in the water. Not once that I blame the shark. Right. Or not once that I blame the ocean is bad and you shouldn't go in it. Like, you have one life. I'm not going to live it in fear, and I'm surrounded by beautiful ocean here in Hawaii. There's no way I can't get back in there.
Well, that's very profound of you just to have that attitude, to see beyond the story.
Right. I'm not gonna allow this to block my life. I feel like it was more of an opening and an awakening, not something to be blocked by and be afraid of.
Right.
If anything, now I look at things head on now, because we're only living one life, and I'm not gonna live it in fear. And I'm not going to be like, like I want to see the beauty, and I love the ocean. I mean, prior to this experience, I already loved the ocean. I never was afraid of those things. But, you always have, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so afraid of the water because there are sharks. I mean, yeah, there are sharks, but we also only live one life. Nobody's going to make it out of this one alive. Whether it's a shark or something else, like we just have to bear and be strong in life without letting fear get in the way. If we're presented with situations, we just have to deal with it. Yeah.
And I just want to interject one thing from being a mermaid myself and sharing about shark conservation, and because I've interviewed a lot of people about this, but there's generally, just so you know, there's about 80 shark bites per year, and only about 6 or 7 of them, and this is around the world, are fatal. And most of the bites are accidental, like
my
the shark
situation.
that was John. It's usually murky water. But there's like 150 million sharks killed every year worldwide for shark oil and various things. So anyways, there's this general fear about sharks in our society because of movies like Jaws and such, but they're actually not as dangerous as people think. And I just really applaud you for the fact that you can get back in and get beyond the fear.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And with what you're
That's
saying,
so inspiring.
right, with what you're saying, before I didn't know much about sharks. I know I've never been afraid of them. Like she mentioned, we kill more sharks and we do more harm to our ocean and our sharks than they do harm to us. Because if they did, we'd all be dead in the water.
It's very true.
On the daily, people wouldn't even put their toes in there because, if they're coming out to attack you like they are in Jaws, none of us would be alive. Nobody would live in Hawaii.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So, now, if anything, I'm more confident to be in the water because of this situation. I'm not so much afraid. If anything, I'm more confident because this has happened. I can use this as a learning lesson, and now I know better. So now, in retrospect, what I should have done is I should have acted more quickly. I should have looked at the shark, scared him back, kept my eye on him, and he would have left. He wouldn't have attacked me.
Right.
So now I know that, and they're not coming out to attack you like you see in movies,
Right.
We're predators too, and then in the time when I had eye contact with him, for about, I would say 10, 20 seconds, we were looking at each other. And while I was looking at him, he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't coming at me or attacking me. He was in his still position. It was once I looked away is when he got me. So that gave him permission to be like, now I got you kind of thing.
Right.
But in that time, if I would have just kept my eye on him and stood my ground, that would have never happened.
Or done something to
scare him. Exactly.
Right.
So, knowing that now gives me even more confidence and less afraid to be in the water. So if anything, if people are afraid, you just have to learn. You have to learn these things, so that way you're better prepared. And you're not afraid of these situations, yeah?
And sharks play an important role in the ocean ecosystem. They're the lungs of the planet. They help clean up when there's like dead or sickly fish or beings. Like they clean the ocean. They keep it fresh and vibrant. So sharks have their vital role. They're very important. We need them for a healthy ocean.
Yes, we wouldn't be alive without the sharks. And if anything, the aftermath, I feel like I've invested my time in doing research, about sharks. And it's kind of come without me even searching for it, because this has happened. Now this is my world,
Right.
And I've learned about all these things that you're talking about. It's absolutely true. They're just so vital for our life. And I honestly love them. I don't have any hate or bad feelings about the sharks or the one that got me, like none at all, really.
Impressive. There is a man here on Kaua'i who was attacked by a shark, and I believe he lost his leg. Yeah. And now he stands up as a shark activist, like speaking up for them.
Yes.
The shark gave you some sort of medicine, kuleana, as it were, a Hawaiian word for like power.
Yes.
Or mana. Sorry,
Mana,
kuleana is like
your responsibility.
Right,
now
right.
It's my responsibility to educate people.
Right, the mana.
The mana, yeah. Or my, they call it if I'm correct, your amakua.
Amakua, right.
Right? So it's like your guardian angel or your spirit guide, and I really feel that was truly my spirit guide. And I've met my coots. I've never met him personally, but he reached out to me on the social media when this incident happened.
He heard about it.
Because, news travel really quickly here. And he reached out on social media and he told me, I'm happy you're doing well, But I do eventually, cross paths with him one day on the island, and maybe we'll have some discussion and a conversation of the minds, about this topic. But I was really thankful that he reached out. It's amazing how the community really comes together during those times. And I remember so I was in Maui. I was on my flight back here to Kaua'i. And I was in the wheelchair with my leg wrapped, because I couldn't walk. I had to use crutches and I was on a wheelchair. And while I was waiting for my flight, people started coming up to me and they were like, are you that girl that was attacked by a shark? And I'm like, how do people know? I'm like, how do you know, by the way? And then they were taking pictures with me and they were like, girl, you're on the Maui news. So I'm actually on the news, and we can share that clip because there's an oceanographer that was interviewed for this situation, and that he was asked, like, you know, why do you think the situation happened and all that.
So they don't bite people very often. When they do bite them, it's typically minor injuries, and the most common interactions where people are bitten by this species are in surf zones where the visibility is poor.
He says knowing why the shark attacked depends on whether the woman or someone nearby speared a fish and would be considered a provoked attack because the dead fish attracted the shark.
Because if you have speared fish and there's a shark present and it's hungry, it can become very excited by the speared fish. So it's coming in because of the smell of the fish, it's not coming after you. This is more of a chance event than anything. It doesn't fit any particular pattern. It's just bad luck.
And I was the last shark attack because I did some research, and a lot of people report 6, but there's actually 7. So some websites show 7, others show 6, but I was the 7th. So that's me.
Gotcha. The 7th one.
That was the 7th
on
one.
Maui.
On all the Hawaiian Islands.
Oh, okay, I see.
I believe on all the Hawaiian Islands, or I don't know if it's worldwide. I wouldn't think so. I would think it's just the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah, probably the Hawaiian Islands.
For that year. And then a lot of them were just, you know, nothing fatal. You know, it was just, I believe, just kind of like occurrences, kind of like mine, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And so after, just to understand the whole story, after you got out of the water, they, I'm sure, rushed you to the emergency room?
Yeah, so as I got out of the water, you know, people, you know, I got out of the water, took off my fin, and I was just in shock. But it was 4 big puncture wounds on my leg, and then his teeth at the top, and I was bleeding a lot. As I was crossing the parking lot, it just so happens that the lifeguard was coming in late for his shift.
Oh.
So it's just all these little things. So I'm crossing right in front of the lifeguard truck, and he sees me, you know, with all these people around me bleeding. And so he immediately, you know, like parked right where he was in the middle of that parking lot and pulled his bag out, his emergency bag out.
I see.
And so they put me up on the Jeep that we were driving, and they did the tourniquet. So the lifeguard was able to tourniquet my leg before the ambulance got there. But the ambulance, maybe it was pretty quickly. The ambulance got there maybe I would say 20, 25 minutes after that. And so it was pretty okay already, you know. I was already wrapped up. But so I rode the ambulance, and it was COVID time, so nobody could ride with me. The whole way to the Memorial Hospital, it was kind of trippy, you know. You know,
sure.
You're there, you're like, you don't know if you're gonna pass out, but no pain. So the whole time, it was kind of like surreal, you know, because I was feeling no pain. And then the pain occurred once I got to the hospital.
The endorphins started wearing out, yeah.
And it's almost like my body was like, okay, now you have help. You know, you're okay now.
Right.
And so they removed the tourniquet. So when they removed the tourniquet, that's when like the pain came flooding in. And it was just so painful. I started blacking out because, you know, when you're in pain, you hold your breath. You're like, right? So then I realized I was holding my breath, and I'm like, oh my God, breathe, you know? So then I was just like focusing on my breath in and out, but like the pain was so unbearable. And then I'm like, why aren't they doing anything? I was like, you know, give me some pain medicine, give me some injections or something. And they were like, we have to see what's going on inside your leg. And I'm like, oh, that's right. You know, I hadn't thought about it. And so they put me under that huge CAT scan. When I came out, the doctor was like, girl, you have angels protecting me. He says, because if it would have gone a centimeter deeper, it would have punctured through your femoral artery.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, at that point, you would have had 2 minutes. 2 minutes to get help, or you would have bled out to death.
Dang. Oh, my
gosh.
gosh.
So then when he told me that, I was like,
shivers.
Oh, my God. Those like were literally his exact words. And he's like looking at me and, you know, straight in my eyes, and I'm just like, oh my God. And right after that, they rushed me into the room where, you know, the doctor came, started sewing me up, cleaning the wound. And then I'm asking her, I was like, so what kind of other shark stories do you guys have, you know? As she's like cleaning me, and she's like, you're gonna want to record this, she told me, you know. So I recorded the whole thing. So at this point, they'd already given me, you know, numbing injections in the area. And she's cleaning me up, and she's like, oh, she's like, it doesn't happen. She's like, it's very rare. She was telling me, she's like, shark attacks are very rare.
Right.
And I was like, well, the ones that you have had here, I was like, what's been the situation? She's like, well, the girl before you said lost her leg, and the person before that lost his life.
Wow.
And then here she is just like cleaning and sewing me nonchalantly as she's telling me this. And I'm just like, I get to keep my leg. I'm alive.
Right.
You know,
perspective is everything.
Perspective. And I was like, oh my God, how lucky am I was thinking. And she, was cleaning the wound, and then she couldn't get it closed. So because it was four big puncture wounds, they have to make like a clean line to be able to sew you and like, and so she's cutting the jagged areas, like she's cutting my skin with scissors, but I'm not like, I'm numb, so I'm just looking at it like it's like an out-of-body experience,
Right.
I'm not feeling a thing, but I'm just like, she's literally cutting skin. Then she's like, has a clean, kind of like a clean area, one line, and she's telling me, I'm gonna have to leave it open. She told me, you're gonna have to clean it on the daily, open it and do the ghosting. And then I'm looking at her like, no. I was like, I can't do this on the daily. What do you mean? I was like, no, please close it. I was like begging her. I was like, please do your best to close it. And then so I'm begging her to close it. And she's like trying to pull the skin together, and it wouldn't like come together. She's like pulling. And then she's like, I'm going to have to staple it. She told me that's the only way it's going to like hold together. It was so gnarly, but she was able to close it. She was sewing me, so when she's sewing, there's still like big gaps of like skin in between, It looks so. And
you can talk about this now.
Yeah, and I can talk about this now. I know.
That's amazing.
I know. Well, for a long time I couldn't talk about it. My family has never even heard the full story.
Oh, like maybe they'll watch this interview.
Yeah, they're like in denial that it ever happened. Especially my mom. She's like
sure
in denial it ever happened. Like she doesn't want to hear about it. She doesn't want to see pictures. She just like completely has blocked it out of her mind. So honestly, I've never ever had a conversation with my parents about how it really all went down.
I scare them too much. Yeah. People are very afraid of sharks. It's one of those primordial fears that's been enhanced by society.
Yes.
And their darling daughter, of course, they don't want to hear that.
I know.
Too scary.
I know, too scary for them. Maybe one day. I meet so many people that are like, I'm so afraid of sharks. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't tell you my story then. I was like, you're going to be so scared. You're not going to want to come back. Or maybe I should tell them.
The fact that you went through it and you're living and breathing and so alive and so vibrant and, get in the water as a mermaid, and that's inspiring. You are a true testimony to facing your fears and facing the shadow and the trauma of what happened.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people would not be able to get in the water
again. Because I'm a living form with this story, right? Sometimes you don't see how dramatic it is because I'm the one living it, Like sometimes I see it when other people react to it. Or maybe just because I've been in shock for so many years, but I would say just a few months ago, late at night, because at nighttime is when we get a lot of epiphanies and realizations.
True.
I was up late at night. I couldn't go to sleep. And then I was able to actually process what happened. And in myself, as I'm playing this movie in my own mind, I'm like, God, that did happen to me. It finally landed. It finally landed in my mind and my spirit. Like, gosh, girl, you did survive through that. But for a long time, it never registered. And it's hard because you're just in trauma, shock, all that is true. But I feel like I've always been a person that wants to, face their fears. I don't want to live in those shadows. I want to, face them head on. I feel like that's what we're here to do in this journey, in this lifetime, and maybe in every other lifetime. We're just moving from one in, bringing things to the light. And I feel like I was doing that for a very long time in my life, even before the shark attack. But I feel like the shark attack really pushed that forward even more. And then now I feel like we're all doing that, right? We're all trying to push ourselves to the light and face our shadows. This is just a different shadow I have to face.
Well, I know from my experience, I've had so many people die at a young age, and I almost died 7 years ago from stage 4 cancer. That experience really woke me up to living life fully and having the same attitude, like, I don't know how long we'll be around. Might as well face my fears. and truly live life fully. And I've intentionally gone to swim with sharks, not like tiger sharks or anything, but I did see a tiger shark out on Maui once in a paddleboard out in the middle of the ocean, and which is kind of rare to see. And this was 2 years ago, I believe, 3 years. It was 3 years ago, but I took it as having some shark medicine myself because he was kind of going around our board. Yeah, and my friend who leads these paddleboarding tours, like she never sees them out there, and she's been wanting to. So wow. I get the shark medicine thing, but you got a real dose of it.
I got a real dose of it. You know, I'm very thankful. Was it a
story.
tiger shark? Because I think if I would have gotten attacked by a tiger shark, I wouldn't have had my leg. Because from what I've learned now, that black tips can also be aggressive, but they bite and release. And tiger sharks clamp and hold on. So that's why most people lose their arm, lose their leg when they've been, bitten by one. Like Bethany Hamilton and Mike Coots. From my understanding, that's what I've heard.
Sense. Yeah.
So if I would have been a tiger shark, it would have just clamped on my leg and pulled. They have no, their jaws are, shaped differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I'm very thankful for my experience. And honestly, I wake up giving thanks every day. It's like you always know you should be grateful for life, but it's like when something happens, that makes you see the other side, or that you're close to the other side, it makes you realize how much of a gift this life truly is.
For sure.
And, some of us are just given that medicine to, I guess, who knows, to persevere and live life a little more fuller and be thankful. And I'm so grateful I had, this experience to be a mermaid. It just felt so surreal. And I'm so happy we've come in contact with each other, We've become...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too. You're such a natural mermaid.
So fun.
She got on a tail and immediately I was like, I didn't really have to tell her anything.
Yes, I'm like, let's go.
She knew what to do.
Yes, so fun. And now I've unlocked this whole new world. And I'm so excited to continue swimming and doing more exciting things. Now my life is all about trying new things. Doing new things, trying new things, learning, growing. And feel so passionate and so thankful to be alive and living this time around.
That's so inspiring. And what would you tell people who do have a fear of sharks?
I would say, when in doubt, don't go out. Don't push yourself, go
if the
slowly.
Conditions aren't
right. Listen to your intuition. Like if you're afraid, it could be for a reason, like do more research on sharks and get to know yourself. Get to know what this animal is, see how you can, what to do in situations that you see them, what not to do. So I would say educate yourself and go in slowly, always be with somebody, hold somebody's hand. The water is just so beautiful, and being underwater is just a whole nother world,
It is important, I was certified as a PADI mermaid instructor and free diver, and there's that basic rule to always be with somebody in the water, always have a buddy because of things like this.
Exactly. So never go out alone. That's, the point is not to be more afraid, so don't push yourself. If you're afraid, go slowly. And always have somebody, go with somebody you're comfortable with. And little by little, you'll see that the fear goes away because you're getting to know your surroundings. I mean, all fear is something that you don't know. It's unknown. But the more you know about it, the more you educate yourself, then that world becomes more unified with the world that you're living in, and it's not so much a fear anymore.
Fear is false evidence appearing real.
Real, yes, exactly. An illusion playing with your mind. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Do you have any parting words for the audience?
Well, whoever tuned in and listened to our conversation, thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I know she's going to link the social medias. And thank you so much for listening again. And I hope that you get some fun diving in and you get to enjoy the beautiful world that we live in. And don't be afraid to try new things and step out of your comfort zone.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. It's an honor. And we'll put some after photos of the hair looks like. And if you are in Kaua'i, you can come experience this too and have your hair look beautiful too. All right. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Take care. Aloha.